When I'm building something, the most frustrating thing that happens is when I have to stop what I'm doing to go and look for a part. I know you know what I'm talking about, where you have to go and spend 30 minutes looking for something that should only take you 30 seconds. My name is Zach, and I'm the Byte Sized Engineer. In this video, I'm going to show you all of my tips and tools that I use to get organized and to stay organized. This is a barcode scanner that can read pretty much any type of barcode, data matrix, or QR code. I want to be able to scan the parts on my DigiKey sales order and add them to my inventory. And because DigiKey puts barcodes and data matrices on all their sales orders, this should work really well. I'm using an inventory management software called Binner. The best part is that later on when I need those parts, Binner will tell me which of these bins I stored them in. Pretty cool, right? But in order to do this, I've got a lot of work to do. A year ago, my family and I moved cross country, and in order to keep making videos, I had to set up my workshop in record time. Don't let these colorful bins fool you. It's mostly full of miscellaneous junk that really doesn't belong here. I mean, I've got a box that says projects in progress. Really, I haven't worked on this in probably 10 years. I also have some boxes down here that aren't labeled at all. So I have tried to keep organized, but I really need to change something. I spend way too much time looking for parts instead of building things, and that's what I want to change in today's video. This is a really big project, and I decided that I needed a little bit of help, so I put a job posting out, and I actually have the first candidate here to interview. Dave, okay, what kind of experience do you have organizing things? I've got a big shop here, and I need some help organizing.
Well, I worked for over 30 years at the Smithsonian Institution.
The one in DC?
That's right. And recently retired from my last job as the collections manager for the Department of Anthropology.
Okay, some experience in organizing things. And like, I have a lot of stuff here. I don't know if you've taken a look around, but like, how many things did you have to manage at your last job?
Well, that collection was about 3.5 million objects.
Okay, I'm starting to get the sense that you might be a little overqualified for this job. What is your rate?
Well, I'm retired now, so I'm really just looking for a new hobby.
So you're saying you're retired and you're willing to work for free?
Yes.
Welcome to the team, Dave.
All right.
It's just the two of us.
Oh.
In all seriousness, Dave is actually a friend of mine. Our kids go to school together, and he volunteered his time today. Dave actually really did retire from the Smithsonian Institution, and he is way overqualified for this task, so I'm extremely grateful that you are volunteering your time today.
Let's get started.
So, as you can see, I've got sort of 3 zones. I've got this area here that has some blue bins and some red bins. This is really prime real estate for my workshop. What I'm thinking is that the things that I use the most often, the things I need to be able to grab the quickest, should be in this area because they're easiest to get to. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
And then if you notice, I've got a lot of space under these workbenches, and I think it's kind of wasted space. So what I'm thinking is things that I don't need as often, but I still want to get to relatively easily, I should put under these spaces. And then the third area I have is kind of these big storage bins over there on those racks. And that's kind of my long-term storage, stuff I don't need very often. Do you have any suggestions on ways that I could use what you did in your last job here in my workshop?
What immediately comes to mind is archaeological material, where there's lots of small pieces. And one person might want things organized by a geographic area, but another person might want things organized by a type of object. So in this case, it's your workshop. You get to choose how it's organized. You're the user.
I don't want to break my creative flow to go and look for something.
I'm a little worried about what I see over there.
Oh, you mean like over there in the shadows?
In the shadows.
Those are actually my boxes of shame.
Is that why I'm here?
Yeah, that's really why I called you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I kind of call those my boxes of shame, but honestly, everybody who is a maker has boxes of shame like that. And so the problem is that I need a part and I go and shuffle them around and they just continually form into a big mass of disorganization. So I'm thinking to start with these black bins because I think we can tackle those quickly. So step 1 is take everything out. Okay. I feel like I'm moving backwards in time because these started out on the ground and then I finally got the shelf up recently and I felt like I made progress. But I know in the long run this is going to be better. So first thing I'm noticing is that I have a lot of cables, like a lot of cables.
Sure do.
USB cables, Ethernet cables, cables that go to my oscilloscope, all that kind of stuff. But they seem to be spread out a little bit between a couple of boxes, so that could be one category of items.
I've seen kite strings that are less jumbled than this.
I don't know what to tell you, man. This is literally an empty box. I don't know why I kept an empty box in here, but it's taking up space. Time for it to go. Do you think I can consolidate these down into fewer bins?
We can create some extra space, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you have to have labels.
I'm gonna start writing the categories here on the sticky notes if you wanna start consolidating.
Perfect.
All right, we've got our first box done. Data cables, that's progress. I am super impressed with how much space we saved. All of these are full of stuff, but literally the upper half of this entire shelf are empty boxes. This is so much more functional than it was before. None of this is stuff that I need on a day-to-day basis, but it is nice to know that if I need something, it's gonna take me less than 5 minutes to find what I need now that we've got it all organized.
That's exciting.
So shall we move on to the boxes of shame?
Let's go.
How does this compare to how you did things at the Smithsonian Institution?
Well, what this reminds me of is a collection when it first comes in, before
Disorganized.
we put our magic touch on it,
Okay.
right?
The plan now is to clear out that space underneath the workbench. And I actually already built a shelf that will go underneath there. And it's specifically designed to fit these bins. There we go. There we go. All right, that looks great. Now it's time to load it up with some plastic bins. We've made a ton of progress here using these bins underneath the workbench. Look how many we fit under here. I went ahead and put Dave to work sorting some LEDs while I show you what I did here with this resistor box. Resistors, of course, they come in different values, and I didn't want a box just full and unorganized of different resistor values, so I had to come up with a way to divide these boxes even further. So I jumped on my computer and I 3D modeled up a little divider that goes inside these bins, but I didn't want to waste any 3D printing filament before I was sure that it fit right. So I used my laser cutter to cut out some cardboard to make sure that I got the template just right before 3D printing, and this worked really well. I've printed out a bunch of these dividers, and these will go inside these bins so I can break them down even further. I've got like 0 through 1,000 ohms in one section, and then between 1,000 and 10,000 in the next section. So this is going to save me a huge amount of time when I'm going to find resistors. So now I'm gonna do the same thing with the capacitors. 22 picofarad, 0.1 microfarad. This is purely for function. The form doesn't matter. This is a great way to use up some of those extra rolls of filament that you might have lying around. Intern Dave and I are having our first disagreement, and I need your help. Should these bins have their lids on them, or should I take them off? I'm leaning towards keeping the lids on because I don't want to overstuff these bins. I want to be able to put them in, and I also don't want other parts accidentally making their way into the bins. But you disagree with me. You think I should take the lids off. Why?
Well, I think that you need 3 hands when you have a lid on your bin, because you're not going to be able to pull the bin out, reach and get what you want, and return it.
Okay, I mean, you're making some good points, but I'm still leaning towards keeping the lids on. What do you think? Put down in the comments if I should keep the lids on or take them off.
Oh,
That doesn't work.
that's
That was not
perfect.
clean.
That was
That's
Point
the whole
made.
reason, yes. Now it's time to move on to the stuff that I need the most often, and that's in these bins. A while back I bought these stack or hang storage containers. Right now I've got them hanging on these steel louvered panels, and you can see I've tried to keep them organized. Some of them have labels, but I really haven't kept up with it. So the plan is to do the same thing we did with the first two zones. We're gonna take all of these off, we're gonna set them on the workbench, and we're gonna consolidate what we can and throw away the stuff that I don't need.
You do see that these don't have lids.
I get your point, Smithsonian Institution. Check this out. I'm finding a treasure. This is the very first thing I 3D printed when I got my really cheap and really terrible 3D printer. I printed out a little benchy. So there you go. We're gonna do 3 deep here.
3 deep. What about these larger red bins?
Yeah, I think we'll take them off as well, and we'll just stack them over here.
Okay. What about the blue bins that are inside of red bins?
Don't even ask about those. These are overfilled.
Yeah.
And most of this stuff I really don't need. Dave, I'm looking through these and I'm noticing that there are some bins that I did have labeled correctly, and they are things that I use every day. So I think we should start with those. And if I hand those to you, will you put them up on the wall, and I will start going through, and each bin I will pick up and I will decide if it needs to be thrown away, or if it's something I use every day, or if it's something I need to put down there. I'll write a new label and you can just keep putting them up on the wall.
Okay.
Sheet metal screws I use all the time for 3D printing. And then this is already breadboards. I notice I've got some breadboards in other spots. I just need to label these and I'll hand them off to you. That does not go in there. That goes in there. That is gonna go up. Is that all? The rest are empty?
All empty.
You've got to be kidding me. Did we consolidate it that much?
A lot. Ready for the red? Empty reds.
These are empty reds. Wow. That's crazy how many of those were just junk.
When we were organizing the LED lights, I noticed that you have 2 different kinds of small bins.
Yes. So these cheap plastic bins, I really don't like. They get stuck in there, they're not sized properly. So I actually went ahead and I designed and printed my own bins, and actually if you pull them out, you can see they're already compartmentalized. These fit so much better, and I have a spot for a label. So I'm probably, over time, going to fill these up with more 3D printed ones.
Nice.
Well, Dave, your time with me has come to an end. I really appreciate you volunteering your time. It turns out spending 30 years at the Smithsonian Institution came in handy. So I appreciate your work.
Thanks, Zach. I've had a lot of fun.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? Before you leave, we do need one more coffee run from you. Do you got that in you?
I can do it.
Excellent. At this point, I'm in the home stretch. I have purged everything that I don't need. I mean, check out all of these bins. They've been labeled. I've got all the stuff that I actually use every single day. So I ended up taking some of the stuff that was in my clear bins and moving it up here because it really belongs up here. It's stuff that I need every single day. And I also found some clear bins that really didn't belong there that needed to go into the long-term storage. I've alphabetized all of these blue bins so that I spend even less time looking for things, and I'm at the point where I can peel off the sticky notes and put labels on them. All right, everything is labeled. It's looking awesome and amazing, and I could stop here, but I really can't help myself. You probably noticed that each of the labels had a QR code, and that's because I'm using an inventory management software called Binner.io. Let me give you a quick demo of how Binner works. I've got my latest DigiKey order here, and now that I'm all organized and everything's labeled, I'm ready to start adding this to my inventory. So the first thing I want to add are these P-channel MOSFETs. I've got 100 of them here, and I want to add them to my inventory. So I've got Binner running on my computer, and I've got a barcode scanner that's connected to the computer. The first step is to click the Add Inventory button, and now it's ready for me to scan. I'm going to scan the part number here on the packing slip, and it comes up here, and it even fills in the quantity as 100. That data is actually contained in that QR code, which is really cool. And it found the part number. It even has the data sheet right here. I can click on that if I want additional information. I scroll down, I can see a lot more information about this part. This is great. But now I need to tell Binner where I'm going to store it. So I click the location tab and I'm going to walk over to my MOSFET bin, which is down here. So I scan the MOSFET bin and that lets Binner know that the MOSFETs that I just scanned will go in that bin. Now it's added it to my inventory. So I can go back here and I can click search inventory and I'm going to search that barcode just to make sure that it worked. Here it is. I've got 100 of them in stock. Here's the description, here's the location. It even tells me what part type it is, and I can even pull up the data sheet from there. One of the really cool things about Binner is that it integrates with DigiKey's API. If I had everything set up correctly, I just type in my DigiKey sales number and it will import my entire order all at once. Binner could be a really useful tool if you're running a production line. If you're manufacturing a product and you want to keep track of inventory, it tells you when you're low on stock and when to reorder. So that's an example of adding something to my inventory. But what if I'm in the middle of something and I want to find a component? It's all about saving time. So I can just go to my computer, I can type in the component that I need. In this case, let's say I need a low dropout regulator. So I type in LDO and it tells me that it's in the voltage regulators and switch mode power supplies. So I can walk over here and my bins are in alphabetical order, which saves me time. And I know that voltage regulators and switch mode power supplies are here at the very end. And sure enough, here's the part that I needed. That saved me a huge amount of time. Before, I would have spent probably 10 or 15 minutes looking through several boxes. That took me like less than 30 seconds to find the part. And I want to show you one more thing that I'm really excited about. So I've designed and printed some little dividers that go in these containers, and I can print barcodes for each individual part. This organizational system would have saved me so much time when I was building my solder reflow oven. That project had a lot of parts and I wasted too much time looking for things. If you haven't seen that video, check it out here on the DigiKey YouTube channel.